Tomorrow is going to be kind of a dark day in Minneapolis. About 1,000 Target employees are going to be laid off. Joining us now is Jenna Estlick. She is the president of Human Resources Solutions at the Minneapolis-based consulting firm Versique, and she'll tell us more about what to expect here. Jenna, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. Yeah, so listen, we have 1,000 employees that are scheduled to be laid off. What should employees do if they're one of the 1,000 tomorrow?
Yeah. First is logistically, right? If you are informed that your position is being impacted by a layoff, is understanding your severance available to you. You'll receive a separation agreement, understanding your benefit options. You'll want to apply for unemployment. So those logistical things are the first things right out of the gate that you'll want to focus on. Second, I would say, is really taking that time to process, right? What you alluded to, it's a major life event, and it's a really hard thing. And so giving yourself that space to feel all the things, right? All the emotions from frustration, sadness, anxiety, all super normal, but giving your space to really just kind of sit in that and work through that. Next, I would say once you're ready, right, to start having some conversations and tapping into your network, is coming up with what is your story going to be, right? And so, for example, my position was impacted by the layoff at Target or whatever company due to restructuring, and I'm seeking career opportunities in X, Y, and Z. Just keeping it really clear and to the point. Coming up with your personal, or I should say refreshing your personal brand. So your LinkedIn presence, updating LinkedIn, updating your resume, reaching out to people within your network. So previous managers and colleagues, and explaining to them what you're going through, what's changed. Perhaps asking if they could be references for you. And then I've said this before, but I can't underestimate really tapping into your network, right? And going back to the story that you've crafted and kind of sharing what's changed for you. And I find that, especially here locally, people are so willing to help out. Yeah. If you just tell them what it is that you need, you'll get support. So I think that's the thing, is being vulnerable and being able to put yourself out there and ask for help. Yeah. A couple other things I would mention. Tapping into other partners. So as part of severance, sometimes outplacement services or career coaches are available to impacted employees. So that might be something that could be something that, folks are eligible for, or that might be something that you invest in. The other thing would be leveraging a recruiting partner such as Versique. Executive, professional, and interim recruiting is what Versique does. We focus largely on HR, IT, finance and accounting, CEO, and board level positions. But recruiting partners have deep relationships, especially Versique locally here. They have insights into the market, what companies are hiring, and can be a really great coach.
Yeah.
Would you put me down as a reference?
Of course I would.
Absolutely. I'd lie for you too.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'd be like, yep, I was his manager. He's the best person I've ever met.
Yes.
Like, of course that's not a lie.
Right.
That part's not a lie.
Right. No, I appreciate it. And what did we say last week? We tell each other before every show, you're great.
You're great. I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. You mentioned it. One of those kind of scary feelings is like updating your resume, especially if it's been a while, where you're like, oh my God, I don't even know how to make one of these things anymore. Like what would you recommend to people? Like what makes a resume stand out to you as someone that like hires people and recruits people?
That's a great question. I think being able to make your skills and experiences transferable. So someone that's perhaps not within your industry, would they understand what it is that you're trying to say and what you've achieved, what experiences you're bringing? Not making it too lengthy, so keeping it fairly concise. ChatGPT is available, and it can be a great starting point.
Max loves AI.
Oh, my God.
Right.
Don't even get me started.
But there are really a lot of tips and tricks out on LinkedIn. Again, different partners, recruiting partners can give you some insights as well.
I know when I went through my experience, I didn't even know what severance was. That was a word that I had never heard before. I quickly learned what it was. Maybe there's people at home, though, that were in the same boat that I was in that don't know what severance is.
Sure.
What is a severance package?
Yeah, so severance is typically something that you're eligible for, right, in the term of its pay due to the loss of your employment. So that's something that the employer is paying you as part of that career transition. And what that severance package package looks like will vary from employer to employer.
It's not just a TV show on Apple TV. It's not just a TV show. No, I know one thing that can be really scary for people is like losing insurance and possible like health benefits. Like what? How do you find out? Because I know I've heard like if you get laid off, you have until the end of the month, or like what is kind of the usually the rule of thumb when it comes to insurance and like health benefits?
Sure. So not a benefits expert, so let me first say that. But typically, if you're enrolled in benefits through your employer, like you said, your benefits would run through the end of the month. Some companies may extend benefit coverage. Otherwise, there is COBRA, right, to continue on with your benefit coverage through that your employer offered, but under COBRA.
Okay.
In your career, Jenna, have you ever had to lay somebody off before?
I have.
So tell us what that experience is like from the other side, because as an employee that's getting laid off, it could be a pretty traumatic experience. What's the other side? What's the other side? What are they going through? Maybe the target equivalents of Jenna tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a really, really tough day. Whether you're a leader or you are an HR partner having to deliver that message to someone that is life-changing is really, really hard. So many times in my career when I've had to deliver those difficult messages, the employees on the other side of the table are so kind and thoughtful, and they're like, this must be a really hard day for you too. And you're going, wow, this is not even about me, this is about you. But I think that, it's, having empathy and really just kind of putting yourself in the other person's shoes and understanding that it is a really, really tough day. Not to minimize that impact at all, I will say through my career, I've seen so many success stories of someone that's impacted by a layoff, right? And in that moment, it's so difficult and such a range of emotions, right? And like, well, what about this? And what do I do next? And I find that so many people land in an amazing spot, right? A place that they never would have imagined or maybe never ended up in had that layoff not happened. So again, not to minimize at all, but I think that for people to understand there is another side of things, and things do have a way of working out. But it's a really hard thing to go through.
Man, I wish I got laid off by you. It did not go that way. Let me tell you, I was not saying it must be a hard day for you to the person on the other end of the phone. That's for sure. But I appreciate your empathetic approach for sure. Again, going back to like getting out into the job world, the job search. Maybe some people that haven't had to like apply and do this stuff for a while. I mean, there's all this kind of talk out there that like Indeed and all these websites are kind of over flooded and people aren't necessarily getting responses. Is there still any merit to the old school methods, cold calling someone and be like, hey, I applied, or walking in and trying to get a handshake and hand someone an application? Like, is there still any merit to the old school methods these days?
I think creativity is a great thing, right? And anytime you can get someone face to face or live is going to be better. That's not always possible. So as much as you can find connections at companies, right, that you might be interested in, or tap into your network, who do you know that might know someone that works for a company that you're interested in, and trying to really kind of build those relationships and get insight from those that have those connections or work at those companies is something I would stress. You're right, though. There is an influx of applicants. So that is the reality. So unfortunately, I would say the days of applying online and hoping for the best, we just aren't seeing that anymore. So again, tapping into that network and asking for help.
Yeah. And what would you tell people that are looking for that job, and maybe they're getting a little frustrated, or the other flip side is that some people have been employed for so long and they get laid off, and that first couple of weeks, it's kind of like, oh, this is great. I have so much free time. I'm getting the unemployment check coming in. Just so those people don't get so comfortable, what would you kind of say to them, like in terms of like trying to get back on the mend there?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sure. Giving yourself, that time initially, but then not waiting too long to start networking. There is power in networking, definitely. And I think having a routine. So
that's huge.
Once the first couple of weeks or whatever that time period looks like for you, to kind of settle in and kind of wrap your head around what's happening, coming up with a routine. So, do you have a goal of how many networking coffees or lunches in a week you're going to have, or the number of emails you're going to send out, number of jobs you're going to apply for. Having some goals, I think, is healthy.
Yeah. Positive routine too, because I got into some
Positive, yes.
negative routines.
Yes.
Going to drink a 40 after after getting laid off is not a good routine to have. Certainly not. So like in general, like what would you say is the first thing someone should do if they are experiencing a layoff? Like what's like the first step?
Well, making sure you understand your benefits, right? Like and understand kind of the financial component, right? So are you eligible for severance? Healthcare benefits is going to be really important. What other benefits might you have available to you, whether it's outplacement, it's career coaching, understanding, maybe what changes you might need to make, hopefully temporarily from a financial budgeting standpoint. And then, coming up with your plan, and hopefully maybe you have some mentors within your network to be able to talk to and kind of pick their brain. Not waiting too long in the networking, I think, is really important.
Jenna, I think you said it so well earlier in this interview, where making the most of the opportunity that you're given, and sometimes the layoff can really end up being a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
And I know I certainly wouldn't be sitting here had I not gotten laid off
For
from my
sure.
previous job.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
in retrospect, I am grateful that happened, and
It
it's
can
hard
be-
to see in the moment.
For sure, it's
sometimes.
really hard to
sure.
see in the moment. Like I was telling you off the air, like
Yeah.
I kind of realized after my layoff is just like work was my whole life.
Yeah.
Like I need to be a person that's separate from work. Like my whole life can't be career and work oriented. So it's like it can be a blessing in disguise, but obviously it's a really hard moment in the time.
No doubt.
And we're lucky enough to have bounced back, and some people aren't.
That's right. And I think a lot of it, it's just self-belief and persistence, and that routine is so huge, because it can be
sure.
easy to kind of stoop and start feeling sorry for yourself and then go to some dark places. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And how about, Jenna, like if someone wants to explore like a career change, how would you, like if they're just like, you know what, I got laid off, maybe I don't even like this job anymore. Like what would you say is like the first steps to kind of like exploring a different career?
Well, that's a great question. I think looking at, what work is the most meaningful to you? Where do you feel like you add the most value? And so kind of taking away like the job title associated it, and more of what is the type of work, right, where you will be most successful or that you most enjoy, and start looking at it that way. Again, I think through conversation, right, if you're able to talk with, others in your network and sharing your broader experiences and where your interests lie, they might be able to help give you some ideas on that. Career coaches as well, recruiters. But I think really looking at like those skills and experiences, and what do you most enjoy, right? Where do you feel like you add the most value?
Yeah. Jenna Estlick, the president of HR at the Minneapolis-based consulting firm Versique. We really appreciate your time, Jenna. This was a really great conversation. And
For sure.
I feel for all the people out there that'll get laid off tomorrow, but like you said, maybe, it could end up being, a good thing in the long run. It's hard to see in the short term, but in the long term,
It's
it might be a good
really hard to see in the moment, but you never know what could come from it.